All right, let's talk about Bittensor, or TAO. I bet you've been hearing that name everywhere lately, and for good reason. It just went through its very first halving, a huge deal in its own right. And right at the same time, we got this massive news that Wall Street might be jumping in. So you've got this collision of hardcore code and big-time capital. What does it all mean for the project, for the people holding it? Well, let's dive in and unpack it.
Okay, so this is the real head-scratcher, isn't it? You have this event that's literally designed to make the token scarcer, and the price goes down? It's the complete opposite of what you'd think would happen. So to figure this out, we've really got to take it one step at a time.
Okay, so first things first, let's pop the hood. You can't really get a grip on the price or the hype without understanding the really big technical shift that just happened inside BitTorrent's code.
So if you're kind of new to this whole thing, halving is a super important concept. You've probably heard about it with Bitcoin, right? It's the same idea. It's basically this event that's hard-coded into the system, and it slashes the rate of new tokens getting created by 50%, just like that. And the whole reason for doing this, it's all about creating digital scarcity. The idea is that if there's less of it being made, it should, in theory, become more valuable over time.
And wow, when you look at the numbers, you can really see just how big of a deal this was. So check this out. Before the halving, the network was pumping out 7,200 new TAO tokens every single day. And then boom, after the halving, that number got chopped right in half, down to 3,600. That means the annual inflation rate got cut from a pretty high 26% all the way down to about 13%. I mean, that is a huge automatic shock to the supply system.
But, and this is where it gets weird. Here's the paradox. Even with this built-in scarcity event, the price immediately took a nosedive. So, what else is going on here? What other forces are pulling the strings? Well, that leads us right into our next big piece of the puzzle.
So, at the exact same time the protocol is putting a squeeze on its own supply, a totally new wave of potential demand starts to show up on the horizon. We're talking about the big dogs, the major players in traditional finance. They're starting to pay attention.
Now, you see these four letters, GTAO. It might not look like much, but trust me, this could be an absolute game changer for Bittensor. This is the proposed ticker symbol for a brand new investment product, and it's coming from a very big name in the space.
Yep, that's right, Grayscale. We're talking about one of the biggest digital asset managers out there. They've officially filed to create a Bittensor Trust ETF. And this is so important. Why? Because it's a huge signal that TAO isn't just seen as some niche crypto token anymore. It's being looked at as a legit, investable asset, the kind that's suitable for huge, regulated funds. So let's break down exactly why this ETF filing is such a big deal. First off, it just opens the floodgates for all that institutional money. The big funds that either can't or just won't buy tokens directly from an exchange. It also gives the project this massive stamp of legitimacy. It builds trust, and all of that paves the way for way more people to get involved down the road. But with all this good news, how are the actual people holding the tokens feeling?
And that brings us to the people, the community. Because behind all the code and the fancy charts, you've got the actual holders, the folks invested in this thing. And let me tell you, they are not all on the same page right now.
I mean, you just have to look at places like Reddit or social media to see it. There are two very clear, very different camps forming. On one side, you have the die-hard optimists. They're looking at the long game. They see the scarcity from the halving, they see the huge potential of AI, and they think this is a winning combo. But then, on the other side, you've got this growing frustration. These are the people saying, okay, great, but where's the killer app? Where's the thing that's going to make everyone use this right now? And this split in thinking, well, it's leading to some very different strategies among holders. You've got what you could call the aggressive hodlers. These folks are all in. They're betting big that the long-term vision is going to pay off. Then you have the defensive hodlers. They're still holding, but they're a bit more cautious. They're kind of waiting on the sidelines for some clearer, more positive signs from the market. And then there's a third group. These are the rotators. They're moving their funds around inside the Bittensor ecosystem, exploring all the different subnets, trying to find that next big breakthrough.
So what do we have? We've got these three huge kind of conflicting forces all swirling around at once. A massive supply shock, big money from Wall Street knocking on the door, and a community that's totally split. So let's try and tie this all together and figure out what might be next.
Okay, so you'll hear some analysts throwing around numbers, like a potential price target of around $400. But look, it's a huge question mark, right? It is absolutely not a guarantee. It's a possibility, and it really all hinges on a couple of things. Can they keep this momentum going? And more importantly, can they get more people to actually use the network?
All right, so let's put it all on the table. The bull versus the bear case for TAO. The bull case, it's strong. You've got that built-in scarcity from the halving. You've got the massive potential of a grayscale ETF. And you have the whole AI narrative, which is just this huge tailwind pushing it forward. But the bear case, it's just as real. Adoption is still pretty slow. The market is clearly confused. I mean, look at that price drop. And you have to wonder if the community's patience is starting to run out.
And really, that brings us to the final, ultimate question here. All the technical pieces seem to be falling into place. The scarcity is literally written in the code. And now Wall Street is knocking at the door. But is that going to be enough? Or is the final piece of this whole puzzle finding that one killer app, that one real-world use case that brings it all together for Bittensor? That, right there, is the question on everybody's mind.